reach for the stars. She'll shoot for the moon. Her beauty with the brain to match. She tell you more, but has a plane to catch.
Hey everyone, it's Karina here. Welcome to another expert interview on the Inner Circle. As I say, I'm coming out trying to find entrepreneurs and people who are disrupting their fields and industry, getting out there, really getting stuff done. These are the true players and the makers that actually making things happen. I'm trying to get them into the group, get into their head, get a lot of information out of them so we can serve you, so you can make a difference, you can go and disrupt. And today, over this week, that we've been to India, we've been to South Africa, and we have now landed in Romania. And in Romania, we are now with Karina Ochis, is that correct in the pronunciation?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Definitely. You guys know that I always have to make sure that I get these pronunciations right. My name's Karina. I've been called Cretin Marijuana, so I know I have to get these things absolutely right. So Karina's calling live in on this, well, not for you guys, it's a recording, but she's live in from Romania. Karina, how are you?
Hello everyone from Romania. I'm good. It's a bit late here, but we're doing well. How about you?
Well, we're great. I'm going to speak on behalf of all the guys in the segment. We are absolutely great. So, Karina, you know what? I've had a little bit of an I spy into the back of into your background, and I know some interesting stuff that you've been doing, and you really had a great sort of track run in the last couple of years. But I'm not going to put the spoilers in. I think you should share with our audiences a little bit more about who you are, your background, and pretty much how you got to where you are today, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I'm the CEO and brand master at KO by Karina Ochis. That is a next generation branding and marketing company. I'm also the founder of Ana Karina Luxury Concept, international speaker, brand coach, trainer, and I have my own 2 YouTube shows, which are called Branding Biz Club and Weekly K. So that's me in a nutshell. Usually,
I told you guys. There's a lot going down. So tell us, how do you get to all of this? Because that's a lot going on, Karina.
As it usually happens, it starts from a young age.
Yes.
So when I was 12, I was into painting. And being a painter at that age, I was studying the greats, and I was wondering, why do most artists live a horrible life and they die in complete and utter poverty, while others, very few of them in fact, manage to live a luxurious life. And amongst those who manage to live a life full of luxuries, Andy Warhol, Salvador Dali, they do something completely different. They tell a great story about themselves. They turn their entire life into an extravaganza, into a brand spectacle. So it's not just about the art, but it's about their name and the spectacle. So of course, at that age, at 12, I had no idea what branding or marketing was, so I called it the story formula. And I've realized dabbling into various subjects such as, students' council and a little bit of politics and volunteering and acting, I've realized that this story formula works in the same manner in very many fields and irrelevant of profession. Then a few years later, I've realized, of course, it was called good marketing and great branding. So long story short, I went to Queen Mary University of London to study politics at 17. And then I studied marketing and e-commerce at LSE. And at that point, I was already a European trainer back in my home country, and I was valedictorian and all of those things. So I had an eye for the artsy part of things, but then I was also very good at science, I guess. And by the second year of college, I believe, I started working with World Success Company, and this is a company that works throughout the whole world. It is a coaching company led by J.T. Fox, world's #1 wealth coach.
Yes.
And I got to collaborate with George Ross, which is Donald Trump's right-hand man. Let's not talk about Donald Trump for this purpose. But I've worked with several world authorities. And then I started doing brand consultancy, especially personal brand consultancy. I started speaking to smaller crowds, and the crowds grew. And then from branding, I moved on to speaking about leadership, to speaking about entrepreneurship, wellness, and even youth management and generation management.
Okay.
So those are kind of the fields in which I speak. And then what happened was I went through my own rebranding process, which is very interesting. I used to have crazy red hair and was 30 kilos heavier. So I went through my own rebranding process, and I actually founded a beauty and well-being spa in my hometown in Romania because of this experience. And I realized that no matter how hard you work, and even if you're a very busy entrepreneur, you should still focus on your fitness and your health. So I built this resort in order to help entrepreneurs and professionals do exactly that, focus on their health.
Wow.
And then, yeah, just recently I received a prize in Hollywood for my book. I co-authored a book with Brian Tracy. It's called Cracking the Code to Success. And my chapter, Welcome to the Elite, is precisely about how to build that personal brand for a worldwide level, how to become that celebrity expert in your field. You know, I've spoken about this at TED Talks and at various business talks around the world, just to get you an idea about my story.
And as you can see, there's a lot of things in here, but there's also quite a lot of linkage. I mean, a lot of it, kind of started off with your curiosity and I guess your admiration for the arts. But everything that you just talked about has this element to it, a curiosity element to it. Why can't we? Why shouldn't we? Why hasn't it been? And there's a big why at every kind of level that I was feeling as you start to talk through. Now we'll get into branding because I know this is your area of where you master, and we'll get onto that in a little bit. But
sure.
I just want to come back a little bit to in your story where you were saying like you had red hair and perhaps you had more weight than you would have actually wanted at that point. What actually happened in the basis of you were working through you started all of these different things? What was the trigger point that said to you, look, it's not about I want to change my image or I need to change my image. Was there something in you that actually said, this isn't me anymore and I need to now change? What was that actually triggered you to start thinking about your own personal brand at that moment in time?
Yeah, so I guess what happened is, and you'll see with a lot of experts, and especially marketing experts and even branding experts, they manage to do the branding and the marketing for others very well. But when it comes to them, they can never get to implement what they preach.
Yes.
And at some point, I realized if I'm going to, at some point, take my brand to a global level, I need to start doing what I'm preaching to my clients and to the people I'm consulting. And at some point, everything just congruently linked together. And I realized, okay, this is a time to make that step, especially since, we were traveling all over the world. And when you have to speak in front of 100 people, 200 to 1,000 people, and there are more speeches in a week, you kind of realize, oh, well, I'm not healthy enough to do this. This isn't working. I can't pace myself. I can't breathe properly. So it came naturally. It all linked together. It was firstly the need to do what I'm preaching, and secondly, I've realized my health will no longer help me get where I need to be. And a lot of people, I've realized, and I'm glad you mentioned this, a lot of entrepreneurs now focus on we need to work night and day and to put the hours in, and they're killing themselves, and they forget that entrepreneurship is for the long run. It's not a sprint. Entrepreneurship is not a sprint. No, absolutely.
I mean, in fact, it's, apart from the marathon and the journey that you're going on, there are so many twists and turns. I mean, I feel your pain with, and I appreciate and resonate with what you're saying. I myself travel a lot with my work, with my business. I'm normally 8 months of the year in an international country. You're quite lucky to find me in the UK at the moment, speaking on many stages, sometimes doing multiple talks at the energy levels going up and down. There is a sense of balance and vitality that you need to bring into yourself. You've got to look after yourself as much as anything else. So I get that. I mean, this is the reason I asked the question, Karina, is very much about the fact that people do forget that, you've got to create that balance. Sometimes they go all in and this isn't just about your health. This could be about your relationships. This could be about everything. I mean, when I first started one of my first companies, it was all about my business, nothing else. And, the sacrifice of my family and time and all this started to come out of this. And that in itself can have such an impact in your ability to progress in the future. Today, I have a blessed life in the sense that I can be away from my family for 8 months of the year and not feel that they're going to pull a weight on me, which means that I can be the person that I need to be in the environment that I need to be in. How much of that it plays an importance, do you believe, in not just in the early stages of starting your business, but for someone like you who's now actually got a number of different ventures going on and they're progressively growing and building? How important is it that you have that balance?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely resonate with you. And I think it's a journey that most of us entrepreneurs feel to a certain extent. Because in the beginning, you want to do it all, you want to succeed, you want to prove to the world that your idea was a great idea. And then you kind of realize, but I actually need to sleep in order to think properly. And I actually need my relationships to be there and supportive if I'm going to make it in the long run.
Absolutely.
I definitely feel what you're saying. And I wouldn't say I truly believe in a complete work-life balance, because when you're an entrepreneur, usually your work will come first. Now, of course, we can go into the whole debacle of work, family. I don't really want to go there, because I believe everyone has their own way and everyone has their own way of managing their relationship. But usually entrepreneurs and business people do have a tendency to focus more on that aspect. I do admit I do focus more on that aspect, but I also focus a lot on my health, because without my health, I would never be able to do all the things I'm intending to do.
I mean, that's exactly where the point is, and I'm so pleased that you kind of raise up that there's no such thing as a perfect balance in that respect. It will be, it's not a 50-50 or a 33-33 in that respect. I mean, my strategy is an 8-3-1. I spend 8 months of the year traveling the world. I spend a month of the year working, 3 months of the year working from home, and a month where I do absolutely nothing, and that's my balance. Everyone's got to find their own balance. It's not about actually having to say, okay, I need to proportion equal amounts of time. And it's what you put it into. It's your choice. That's the whole, the other release about entrepreneurship and having your own business and, being the controller or the master of your own destiny is freedom, not the freedom of just being able to do whatever you want when you want. It's more the freedom of choice.
Yeah.
So let's move out of this. Actually, I want to pick into something else that you actually mentioned when you were talking through your introduction, and thank you for sharing so much about that in there. You picked up this whole thing about practicing what you preach, and the importance on this. Now, I've had the opportunity of sharing the stage with people like Gary Vaynerchuk. I've been, we've been on cycle, in events together and stuff like this. And more recently, Gary picked up on this whole thing where he's putting a lot of emphasis onto or focus onto the fit pros or the fitness industry at the moment. And what he's actually triggered out, in fact, I only saw this post again recently, a couple of days ago, is that there is a lot of professionals in this industry that are not actually even doing the things that they're getting their customers to do or their clients to do. Now, this is just one example. The coaching industry has a little bit of this, where there's a lot of people trying to coach people into financial wealth
but haven't reached it
themselves. Now, I don't want to have this discussion with you about what's good or bad in the industries. That's not what we're here for.
Sure.
I want to really lean towards the branding perspective. How massive of a dent can this put into your personal and your professional brand if you're representing something that you don't actually preach or have experience of yourself?
Well, that's the first thing I advise all my clients, and that's the first thing I've even told myself. If this is going to work, you're gonna have to be 100% authentic. There's things you know, and there's things you don't know, and there's things you might have to learn, and it might be hard. But then there was this trend a few years ago that it was cool to become a coach and a guru and this and that. And of course, we're not going to get into the industry, but what happened was it diluted the industry completely because there were a lot of false gurus and people who haven't haven't done anything in that respect and in that field, and they figured, oh, maybe we can fool people into thinking that. But it doesn't work nowadays anymore, because people need so much more transparency and validation from their peers that you're actually authentic. So I believe that nowadays with social media, we have social media going on 24/7. We have websites that need to be constantly updated. You know, you can do lives, you can do videos, you can do a whole bunch of things. And if you try to fake everything, sure, you can do it to a certain extent, but it still has to be authentic. And the truth is, your brand, your personal brand, grows together with you. So it's okay to be at point, 1 when you start, and then as you grow, your brand grows with you. And that's much better, because people then see the development and your history.
Well, actually, it's interesting because you mentioned obviously things like social media, and we're gonna touch into this very, very soon as well. I was recently at the All Web event as a speaker in Tirana, and we were talking about digital marketing and stuff as such. And one of the biggest things that I was telling the audiences there was, marketing's not about selling; it's about creating relationships. And one of the biggest things that we have today with the rise of technology is that we have things like this, a smartphone or tablets or platforms. You yourself have the YouTube channel, for example, or more than one YouTube channel. You're now actually, we're moving away from being entities which have marketing around us to becoming people who are stars of our own documentaries. And this is where there's a kind of crossover with social media itself, and then professional platforms like LinkedIn, for example, as well. And I guess what I'm getting to at this kind of stage is, do you see a big misconception in the way in which business owners utilize or use social media to extend their brand by all they're doing is throwing so much knowledge and professionalism and all of these kind of areas, and not actually being social themselves? Like, I'm not saying that they have to be vulnerable all the time, but like you said, you grow through this. You've got to be authentic to who you are, for people then understand who you are, what you can do, and it kind of grows from an organic base. But I feel that there is a lot of this situation that goes on at the moment on online platforms, where people are just throwing more and more of what they can do and how they can get people to a point and destination, and less about themselves. What impact does it have of not being social on social media?
Well, I think we have to really think who we're addressing this question to, of course, because you have influencers. So if you're an influencer and if you're into the whole how to do your makeup and wear this and wear that, then of course you have to be very personal. And you have to share about your life as much as possible, because that content is aspirational, and that's what people are searching for. They want to see what you do in your day-to-day life. But then again, we have all these salespeople who've just moved their sales content on social media, and they're wondering why it doesn't work. Of course, you know this, social media works through storytelling. So if you're only going to sell, that is not going to get you any advantage. But then you've also seen this trend, this small niche of people who have started overposting, and they might be entrepreneurs and they might be even, coaches or speakers or whatever. Yeah. And they've started sharing what I find it to be often a little bit too much. Okay. So say you're going over the top with sharing your personal issues and your personal problems. And what happens with that? Is obviously your audience will get smaller, because the more you share too personal content, you will only associate with those people who feel your problems and feel your pain. Okay. And sure, if those people will want your services or your products, they will of course connect with you. But that is in the detriment of the larger audience. That is what I believe. So I don't think there is one secret formula, one formula fits all. You have to do a brand analysis. You have to audit your brand, diagnose it, have a strategy, and only then launch with a full-on social media strategy.
So this is interesting. What you're tapping into. I love the way you frame that, how you audit your brand, because I think, again, there is a lot of there's a lot of times as people coming into the market with their new businesses, they're not really a brand, they're not even an identity at that stage. They're just another product or service which needs to be become visible into the market space. But I think during the journey of actually pushing your product in and being social and, doing the marketing and all of this, people lose sight of the fact that they need to continuously audit their brand.
Exactly.
What 3 tips would you have for our audiences about how to audit your brand?
Well, I think auditing your brand is the first step you should take in creating a brand and in rebranding. And it is the first step that my agency does. And we don't do any other service or we don't do any other package without this essential brand audit. And I think you should start with an overall market analysis. Now, you can do this if you are to do it for yourself. You can do this as in-depth as you want to, but basically you need to know the context. If you want to manifest yourself at a global level, then you need to know what is happening in your domain at the global level. If you want to be just a celebrity expert regionally, then that is the place that you should focus on. So first thing is do an overall market analysis. What is working, what isn't working, what are people doing? And then analyze your competition. And the problem is people often don't know what it means to analyze their competition.
Yeah.
They don't know what it means that they actually need to spend hours and hours scrutinizing. How are their newsletters, for example? What are they posting? Because if we don't know what people around us are doing, how are we going to find our own path? That is what I always advise. And then people have a brand story, and then they kind of say it, and at some point they change it, and then they change it again, and they don't realize their brand story was not congruent. It didn't actually have a message. It was just maybe their childhood. They lacked the hook. So I think people should focus on these 3 things. So their overall market analysis, their overall competitor analysis, and auditing their brand story and figuring out, does it have all the crucial aspects a good brand story requires?
That's phenomenal nuggets of information there. Guys, pay attention to this. It's important. It's not just, the competitor analysis bit was, spot on for me. We do this in more ways than one, not just on your brand and how your competition are going out there and communicating with the audiences, but you're looking at what are they doing that's different to you. Why are they attracting or repelling? So it's not just about how much success that your competitors getting. Look at the stuff that they're not doing. That's very important as well. But I think brands are much more of a closer identity or link than when we look at sales strategies or marketing strategies or communication strategies. This is much more of a personal thing. It's not just about you yourself as a brand. But there is this whole thing built around an identity. People resonate with specific things or attach or connect specific things to your brand. So, we go from the age-old think of Virgin, and people think, okay, Red, Richard Branson, all this kind of stuff. I'm not talking very kind of plateau level. I think that part of that auditing of a brand is, what is it that you actually represent? Why are you representing that? And does your brand actually marry up to what you say you're going to deliver? So, my company is called Enterprise Lab. We experiment a lot. We do training, development, coaching, mentoring, but we do it in a very, very non-linear way. We engage so many different things in different ways. And the whole lab culture is about experimentation. My word, my trigger word is disruption. And that is about evoking and manifesting change with positive and negative. So I'm actually out there doing things that some people like and some people don't like. Frankly, I don't care. It's what I kind of lean into, and my brand starts to push along that side. But the point that I also want to sort of get a little bit of your insight onto is it's the chicken and egg thing. What comes first, the individual's brand or the company brand?
I love this question. They like to ask this question.
I love asking the question as well, because it is a chicken and egg thing. I tell you where I'll sit, and then obviously the floor's over to you because you're an expert in this environment. I believe, for me, it's always been about my brand first, as in my personal brand. People got to know who I am, what my identity is, what I stand for, what I don't stand for. And then from this, I've been able to spawn what my company brand is. And I think people resonate two to one things. What's happened over time now for me, Karina, is that people can now make a differentiation between my company and who I am as well. So what about you? What's your sort of viewpoint and opinion on the chicken and egg of, is it personal brand before business brand?
Well, I'm all for personal branding. And, you know, this is what I focus on. This is what my chapter with Brian Tracy was on. And I truly believe that nowadays, in the past, not so much depending on the region and the country, but nowadays, people really want to see the person behind the company, because people will buy from a person they trust and they believe in. So they want to see, okay, but who's the board of directors? Who's the person who is going to be our consultant? So when it comes to us, obviously, it was all about our brand. Because in my case, who is going to want to go to a company whose brand master doesn't have a brand? Sure, in time, you can bring more people to the team and they can develop their micro brands under the umbrella of your company's brand. Sure, and the team has its own brand. But then for me, it was definitely personal branding. And I think nowadays, in most countries, it is about personal branding. Of course, there are some countries that don't feel as comfortable with what it means to put yourself out there as a personal brand, and maybe the audience is not as comfortable with seeing the face of the owner everywhere, but definitely personal branding in most cases.
I mean, well, I'm delighted that you're actually on my side of the argument that it is normally a personal brand before it's the business brand. Often enough, you know, the business has to precede the individual, but like you say, because people need to know who the person is behind it. I mean, there are ethics into this. There is all about if I do like the individual and what they stand for, you know, that creates more trust and alliance to the actual brand and what you're serving through. But it's also a deep, as I say, over time, what tends to happen, I'm sure you're seeing this in your own industry, in your own businesses, that, you know, you kickstart the business, you initiate certain things, it's your brand that's put on the front, it's your name on the front of the door for a period of time. And then eventually what happens is you can create a detachment where the business actually stands as its own entity. Like you say, these micro identities come in. They're the personalities and characters within the brand, which actually allow elevating it, whether it's another co-director or if it's going to be other employees or your salespeople, whatever it needs to be, you know. And I think, I guess what I want to kind of go into at this stage, and guys, before I kind of move on to the next question, if you've got a question that you'd like to ask Karina, just put it into the post. Put it into the post here. I'll get those to Karina. Karina will personally answer them. I know she will. I know she hasn't committed to it, but I am going to.
I am committing to it right now.
Committing to it. So there it is. You've got it now. It's documented. She's going to commit to it. She's going to answer your questions back. And so make sure you get your questions into the post. If there's anything you want to learn more about, get it out there. You know, we're going to go into the whole purpose of why you should be doing this now. Because, you know, what I want to move towards is something that you also talked about you touched on within your sort of introduction story. And that's networks and connectivity. You know, you, over your career, you've connected in and, you know, you've tuned yourself into people like JT Fox and others within that kind of network. And that's allowed you to build part of your brand through the connectivity you have within the network. So I guess what this part of the question I'm really going to angle to you is how crucial is it that you are consistently building your network, and what are the most important things that one should consider when they're actually trying to leverage their personal brand through the networking that they're doing?
Timing. You didn't see this one coming. So
no, I didn't. Timing, yes.
You expected probably something completely different, but from my experience, timing is the most crucial aspect.
Yes.
Because what happens is that people either do things too fast or they miss the opportunity. And you know how it happens. You miss one opportunity, you might wait another 5 years for that opportunity or for that other person. So because people are greedy and eager, they often try to connect with people. And I've actually told this one of my clients just 2 days ago. And they often try to connect with people before it's the right time. So we were just building this brand for this one client, for this coach. And she already started to connect with people who were here from a branding perspective. I'm not saying from a knowledge perspective, because it is not my place to question or evaluate that. But I'm saying from a branding perspective, she was just in her beginning stages. And these people were there, I mean, top level. So of course, you're gonna be at your first step. You're gonna try to connect with someone on their 10th step. And sure, the collaboration might work, but that person will always see you as a fangirl or as a fanboy or as someone to teach, but they will never want to do business with you. Sure, that could work if if you want to work with a mentor, if you're trying to find a mentor, that could work, of course. Even with the mentors, you need to be at the right time, at the right place in order to make that network work for you. And another thing I've been noticing, and sorry to interrupt you there, is that people keep trying to just build a huge network. Oh, I'm going to connect with this person on LinkedIn. I'm going to send this person this email. Oh, and I've seen this person's video, and I think I might be able to work with that. And that is great. But the truth is, people often don't think process is true. They don't think, but what is this person going to gain from the collaboration with me? How am I going to bring value to this person? Is my brand, is my knowledge ready to be working with this person? So that is what I'm noticing, and I would advise people to just focus on their timing, because timing is essential. The right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing.
I couldn't never put it any better than that. That is probably one of the biggest knowledge bombs that you've just dropped in this interview. So thank you for that. Guys, pay attention. It's not just about how big your network is or how much you service it. It's when you service it as well. Remember, it doesn't mean that you just, go into that environment of croissants, coffees, and business and cards and start throwing stuff at people. It's about playing that strategy, knowing when to pull that string at the right time to be able to actually not just leverage your position, but actually add the value into the whole system. Networking is also, as Karina says, it's about how much value are you bringing to the individual that you're connecting with. It's not just about you, it's about them. And in fact, normally when we talk about networking, it's more about the other person. Here is a great example. We have a mutual connection. Karina and I have a mutual connection in one lady called Karen Black. I know Karen because of Talent Finders, and I've been mentoring her. At the same time, Karina has been working with Karen through...
just redid her logo a little bit, and we're working on her brand as well.
And here we are today for the first time meeting. We're actually having a general conversation. For you guys, we're getting all these knowledge bombs out. Now, that doesn't mean we get offline and think immediately, oh my God, we've got to connect, collaborate, and work together.
We're going to be on the same stage and we're going to rock it. But who knows? Who knows?
Exactly. Who knows? It's all about how you service that network, that relationship, and continue going through. Because today, that opportunity might not be ready. But who knows, in 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 years, there could be an opportunity where I think, do you know what? Karina's probably the best person. Let me go and reach out to her. Sure. And at that time is when you create something which sparks, which is why you see some people absolutely fly, like this lady here, or you get other people that try their damn hardest and they can't get anywhere near it. So, guys, that question was all about timing. I mean, as I said, I could not have answered that question any better. We are fast reaching out of time. I could sit here and speak to Karina forever, but you know what? She has a business to run. I have got things to do. It's kind of late in the evening over there. But you know what? I still want to get a few drips of bits out of you before we finish this interview. Karina, we talked about personal branding. We've talked about networks. We've talked about businesses, how people, the whole time balance thing, all this kind of work stuff. Commitment to personal branding. The last kind of area that I want to go into, how committed, and when I mean committed, I want you to actually define this for me, what commitment means. How committed should our entrepreneurs, our audiences, whether you are a early stage startup or an established business trying to grow, how committed should people be to their personal branding?
Very much so. So if you're gonna do it, might as well do it right. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, all you have is your name and your reputation. And think about just one thing. We keep talking about how, in the next following years, a few billion jobs will disappear. How are we going to work together with artificial intelligence? The context is changing and shifting. So we don't really know what is going to happen in the near future or in the distant future. But there is one thing I can tell you for sure, and that is an investment in your brand is an investment you can take with you, because it's your name and it's your reputation. And I do like working with people who have invested in their personal brands, because I know those people will also be punctual, will also take their work seriously, and they will be efficient and professionals in what they do, because they took the time to every day invest in their personal brand. Personal branding is not only marketing. Personal branding is not only a cool tagline or a motto or a website. But personal branding is a combination together with personal development.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Karina. Now, I've forgotten to mispronounce it. Karina, your surname? Karina?
Ochis.
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 Yeah, you see, Karina Ochis. So, it's very important that we get these kind of things right. These are the things that actually create that kind of interrelationship. Now, Karina, you have an amazing and original surname as well. How can people find you? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. But I think the best place to find me is KarinaOchis.com as my name. That is my personal website. So, okay. And then there's also my company's website, which is KO by Karina Ochis as my name.com.
Now, is the KO for a knockout, or what is it?
Kind of, yeah.
I like that.
In a way.
I can see where that was going. Excellent. Now, Karina, you've got oodles and oodles of knowledge, experience. You've created and service such an amazing network. You're working with people at the pinnacle of their levels, right the way through to sort of businesses that are kind of coming into their early stages of work. You've outlined so much about and given so much advice about how people need to focus onto their brands and what the things that they need to consider. What kind of stuff can people come and get from you? Because I'm sure there are people in our audience that want to learn more about how they can improve or engage their personal branding and how they can attach their personal brand to their business brand and so on and so forth. Do you have any sort of programs available? Do you have any sort of guides or webinars or anything like that people can get engaged into?
So sure, we have various programs, but what I really want to focus on are the products and services of my company. So we offer full service packages for personal branding, for company branding, for employer branding, or we can create something custom for you. But just for your audience, I prepared a pack. It's called Brand for the Future. And it contains a brand assessment. Remember, we talked about this with the brand audit and the market analysis and the diagnosis and all of that. A brand book where we highlight the strategy, a brand identity with the logos and the brand colors, a presentation website, latest trends presentation website, a blog. We will create or rebrand your Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube accounts. Of course, after we have done a full social media brand audit, we'll also do your business cards, your document letterhead, and you get your very own brand manager. So you can focus on your business, and the brand manager takes care of all the nitty-gritty little processes that need to be put in place. And you also get 2 brand coaching sessions with me. So the total for this package would be £9,450.
Okay.
For your network, if they act by the end of the month, it will be £5,900. And I'll make this offer available to you and to them.
There you go, guys. Look at that. I didn't even ask for that favor. I didn't even ask. That's what it's all about, connectivity network. But listening to this very, very carefully, actually it's a full do-it-for-you service. That, you know, it's taking the pressure and taking the whole pain of actually having to go through the understanding, the studying, trying to waste your time trying to do it yourself. This is more about people that know what they're doing. They can work with you and do things for you. Just imagine, you know, the cost of actually having someone in all the time, full time, trying to run your brand. You're getting this at a fraction of the price with exponential value. So really, really think about this. We're going to get the links up. We're going to get the links from Karina, and we'll get those all out to you. We're going to be putting those into the email network for you as well. So you will receive, when you receive the a-memoir of this interview, you'll also have all the links there. Remember, if you've got any questions at all for Karina, you've got your chance. She is, you know, she is here. She's going to answer the questions. It's in this video. She announced it and confirmed it. She will do it. I'm
committed to answering your questions.
There you go. She's done it again now. So, you know, I don't want to ask her one more time. Otherwise, you don't want that. She'll probably then change her mind. So look, when it's gone, it's gone. Remember, the biggest thing that Karina's talked about is timing. So don't be too premature and don't be too late. You know, you've got to act when the time is right. And remember, your personal brand and your business brand are two things that you can take with you wherever you go because they are yours. It's so much more transferable. Never, ever forget that, you know, you've got to constantly build onto your brand and constantly be building on that brand. But never forget that you also have to audit your brand to know where you're going, what's happening around you, and more internally, invest the time to analyze the environment that you're in. Karina Ochis, we salute you for your time. Welcome to the Inner Circle. And again, thank you for so much of the insights and knowledge bombs that you provide us today. I'm really, really pleased that we've had the opportunity of having you on our show.
And thank you for having me. And I hope to see you soon.
For sure. Anytime you're in London, come and hook me up. Just give me a shout, and we'll come connect. And
did you hear this? He's committed. He's committed to this.
I'm committed to it. So, guys, that's it. That's a wrap up on this version or the expert interview for the Inner Circle. Remember, as I've already said on the previous show, we have Paris Davidra coming up very, very soon. Here is a guy whose family moved to the UK in the late 70s with only £50. Today, he runs one of the biggest foreign exchange businesses here in the UK, which is doing over 1.3 billion turnover a year. You know, he's going to be talking about his journey and everything that's come through. And I've just heard today, hot off the press, Scott Duffy, my main man from the US. He's, you know, worked with Branson. He's worked with Tony Robbins. He's the contributor and the journalist for Entrepreneur Magazine. Is going to be coming onto the show to again follow up on how we build our personal and business branding within the spheres of marketing and communications. But for now, guys, I'm signing off. It's Karina. This is the Inner Circle, and see you guys soon.